Hi, everybody. Thank you for coming back to Hear Our Voices podcast, where we tell stories, give resources, and change the narrative of homelessness. So, guys, I want you to know we're growing a little bit on social media, but we do want to grow even bigger and want to be able to give out more resources. So, if you're a person who wants to be part of the podcast, you could definitely DM us on any platform that we have. Everything will be down in the link tree. Follow us there, and we can put your story on the podcast. To qualify, you have to be a person with a child in the shelter, a child under 21, and to tell your story. And if you want to be a person who's just want to give resources, we love that because New York City, especially, has a lot of resources. People just don't know anything about it. So we want to be able to give that information out. If you want to be a part of the podcast, or just give us something that we could actually give on our resource packet, that would be great. And let's get into the podcast. So today, but a couple of weeks now, I think we've been talking about DV. I like to make sure we bring DV on the podcast a lot. I think people don't understand how it's happening all around us without even knowing that it's happening around us. Also, people tend to talk about DV only in October in like DV Awareness Month, when DV is happening literally every day to a lot of different men and women in the world. So I'm always happy to bring on the stories of people so you can understand that this is just not happening one time a year in October. It's happening literally all the time, and how this could affect men and women and children, especially. So today we actually have a guest on today. Her name is Ten, and she'll
Hi.
be, yes, you can go ahead.
Say hi.
Yes, thank you for coming on the podcast. And I want to get a little bit into your story. Before we get into the story, guys, I just want you to understand that DV can be in many different forms. The common one is abuse, like hitting and pushing and spitting and like stuff like that. But as other abuses also is the mental abuse. It could be financial abuse, meaning that they could take your money from you and tell you how to spend it and things like that. There's many other ways a person can abuse you, calling out your name. So just be mindful if you are in a situation. We'll have a hotline down below that you can get help with. You know, people came out here with New Destiny and they do domestic violence with Safe Horizon, also Healing Hands. Also, they've all been guests on our podcast and they all have great resources for your people, who just need help in general. I know you might be a person say this is only for families. No, the resources for everybody who has domestic violence issue, and they'll help you with certain things that you might need. So let's get into your story. Can you
Okay.
tell us where you are now in life and how you're dealing with things at this moment?
Right now I don't know. Right now I'm in a difficult situation, but I'm also managing. I'm looking at my trauma into beauty. I'm trying to turn my trauma into beauty.
That sounds cool. It's always good to kind of try to put the negative into positive and to make things differently. Like myself, when I was in shelter, I didn't like it. And I was like, this is very depressing. But now, look what I do now. I'm able to help uplift people who have been in the situation that I've been in and to help them have better lives. Granted, I can't do everything, but I can try my best to do what I can do to people that I can serve at the moment. So, can you explain to us how did it all start? When do you realize this situation was happening to you?
Um, this was my best friend. Like we go. I was 16, he was 15, so we go like way back, childhood friends.
Oh wow.
I wasn't paying attention to the signs like when I was younger.
You're also a child, so I think you should give yourself some grace. Um,
I know that I am not playing sympathy, but it's certain things that was red flags. Like I seen it, but avoided it.
right,
Things like that. But playing devil advocate, we was kids
right,
as in we grow. I thought. So now as in 20, I would see me and him got reconnected when I was 23. Got
right,
reconnected. 23, 24, we got re in contact with each other.
yeah,
It started off a good friendship, again, and then, that's when we took a relationship to the next step. That's when we used to see the guy got pregnant with twins, girls.
Ooh, love the twin thing. Yes,
And then that's when everything turned
right.
from horrible. I mean, just horrible.
I have
Is
a
it?
yes,
Oh, go ahead. Answer
because
your. You say your question.
you said that you saw red flags as a teenager. Because I want people to not to understand that teenagers
It,
go through problems too. And I wanted to see what you at your age as a teenager, what do you remember? What did you remember happening? And probably people should be looking out for even their teenage girls or boys that's in their home.
the things I realize is the bond with the parents. That's the number one thing. It's that I have to say is that a lot of people don't know what a relationship, communication, or love is because of the bond of the parents sometimes. And in my situation, he didn't have a bond with his mother. It was like more family issues.
Right.
So he would more make threats to his mom and his sister. It was more of the females he would threaten. And
Mm,
and then like as in like disappeared. I thought things got better with the mom and him. And then the more like I just disappeared, and then as in recent is just I just found more information. It was just patterns I see now.
got it.
Yes.
So guys, don't think that oh they're young, they can't, a lot of times we see these in young people that things can happen and that it shows up in their relationships early on and then it grows with them to an adulthood, they don't get help for these things. So if you do see a child and they're doing certain things and you think that that's not the right thing to do, please get them help because they can get help for this and not be able to scar another person out of this in the future. But if you get them no help and just make it continue going on, it's going to be able to affect other people's lives. And now he has children, so now affect his children's lives. So yes.
Yes.
So when you said it got worse when you had the twins, how exactly did that get worse for you? And was it
Not
only, yeah,
not when I had the twins. When I found out I was
no.
pregnant with
Oh, got it.
it was not just physical, not just mental. It was more. It was lies. It was him. He gave me a STI. He lied on me. He choked me a couple times when I was pregnant, lifted me up from the toilet, and slammed me on my back. He had admitted that he had cheated on me too.
Got
And previous to calling me a cheater and beating me and calling me every type of name, even threatening my sons, that's not even his kids.
wow.
And my sons didn't even want to be bothered with me after that because Mike's kids were scared for their life. And on top of that, scared for their mom's life.
Right.
And I was pregnant too.
Got it. Did you leave initially or did you get like
He
how did it work for you?
um the way it was that he didn't live with me. It was at the time it was just, a friend helping a friend out get back on their feet.
Right.
And I forgot the name of it. When someone's not trying to leave your house, when you ask them to leave, I forgot the name of it.
And I know what you're talking about. I'm thinking of
But
squatters' rights, but I don't think that's what it
yes,
is.
I
Okay.
think that's what it's called, squatter rights. He tried to do that to my house, and I wanted to leave my house. So every time like I try to leave my house or go to a friend's house, he would call the cops on me and saying, "I'm missing. I'm a runaway."
Mm.
Or call the cops on my friends and say they kidnapped me.
Oh wow.
Yes. So I had no choice to come back to my house because he wouldn't leave my house. Even if I tried to get to the landlord, it was impossible to reach the landlord
Wow.
to help me get a letter saying this person don't live here on the lease.
Got it.
So the way how I had to get him out my house is when my brother stayed with me for a few days. And that escalated the situation even worse because even when my brother stayed with me, he would just randomly pop up in my house and start antagonizing me and my brother. And it was one night he came into the house, didn't say nothing, and tried to force me off the bed. So he took the mattress and tried to flip me off of it. My brother was like, "What are you doing? You see she's pregnant and you see her sitting on the bed." He was like, "I told her to move." He was like, "No, she's not moved. This is her bed." He was like, well, I bought it in this house. And then he pulled the knife on my brother.
Oh, wow.
And I had to call the cops because I was literally in the middle of a standoff.
Right.
And that's when I had to order protection.
At least you got that. At least you got that.
It gets worse. It gets worse.
I can't even imagine.
It gets worse because now you got the new law of no bail.
Okay.
That law is a very scary law because with a piece of paper that's telling him like, yeah, I can go and violate the order of protection and I'm gonna get released.
Right.
And I have 5 order protections now, and this is a full one. My last one now is a full one.
Right. Can you explain to people, because people might not, I found out honestly a couple of weeks ago that they have like a partial order protection and they have a full one. Can you explain what that might mean for a person if they get a full order protection and then a half one?
I'm still new to this, so I'm not sure. But the only different thing I have seen with the temporary and the full is with the full one is like you got to stay away from the 500 feet of school, house area like that.
Right.
The other one just says like stay away from the school and simple stuff. It don't even say how many feet. Now the temporary don't say feet or nothing.
Got it. Somebody told me the other day that what they got from the court, they have a full protection now, and they got is a, I want to say not a half protection, but it's just a certain way they do it that I guess the person could be around them. I don't know how the whole thing goes, but they have different orders of protections for people and how they write it. And temporary is like a small amount of time, like the other one is full and really covers the whole basis, supposed to cover everything, and that the person doesn't be around, you know, the person they're trying to hurt kind of thing. So when you said you have 5 of these particular paperworks, right? Did you initially, the first incident happened, did you initially get that? Or
So yes, the
a
first
few
one
things?
I
Okay.
did. Oh, the first order protection I get was with me and my brother.
Right.
When he pulled the knife on me and my brother at my house, and that's the one when the police actually did the paperwork and gave us in their hand.
Okay.
The other time was through. The other time is when this one is a horrible story, and I don't even like talking about it. This one is when he decided my daughter, she's in St. Mary's Hospital.
Right.
She's been there for a year, practically
wow.
almost a year.
Okay.
He had went to the hospital and threatened the staff, the ACS worker, the doctor, or whoever's in St. Mary's that worked there threatened the hospital badly that the cops had to come and arrest him on that property. And I believe St. Mary's had an order protection on them.
Oh, wow.
And since there's no bail bond,
right,
he keep playing crazy, so they keep putting him in a mental hospital, and he gets released 72 hours.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
that's when the third order, the second one, I believe the second or the third one of that one, because I believe I had 2. Because that one's from Queens and the Bronx. I mean, in Brooklyn.
Got it. So,
and then, yeah. And then I believe the last one was recent. That was April 25th or 6th.
Got it. So in the middle of that, did anybody, when they were filling out paperwork, say, we're going to give you resources or point you at least in the right direction, which is basically resources to help you with your situation? Or did it say, like, you have this paperwork and you kind of figure it out kind of thing?
Honestly, I feel like I'm just figuring it out and hoping day by day, me and my daughters will be okay. Wow. Honestly.
Right.
Because I have an ACS case because all his cases on him.
Right.
And they, since now they don't want me in my house since the last incident now, and I can't be nowhere in the borough I used to stay at.
Right.
I'm just like, aggravated, like frustrated because I'm trying to figure out what's going on. And I'm in domestic violence shelter. I'm leaving my house to be, and I worked very hard for my first apartment. This is
Right.
my very first apartment that I have to leave. But also, that's when I say I'm looking at my trauma as in beauty, is because I'm losing something to get something 10 times bigger. And I'm thankful that I'm live today to tell my story.
Right. And the truth is, a lot of people don't make it out. A lot of people, when the
Yeah.
first incident happened, they forgive the person, they go back. And I'm happy that you were strong enough to call the cops because you saw your brother's life in jeopardy, your life was in jeopardy, and that you did that. That takes a strong person to do that. And I want to make sure that anybody who's listening, you might not be able to do it the first time. Everybody's different. Everybody have a different story, but make sure that you stick up for you and yourself, you and your family, and to get the help that you need and make sure that you put things in place. Because especially with this government and how they do things, or even the police do things, a lot of times, if it's not written down as like it almost didn't happen, I'm happy that the laws in the past couple of years have changed, even if there's not a police report, because a lot of times people are so afraid they can't even do police reports because they feel like something's going to happen to them. That organizations with like New Destiny and Healing Hands or Safe Horizon kind of thing will still help you no matter what because they believe the survivor. They know that people are not going to be just be lying and saying this person is doing this and doing that. And you don't always need the evidence of watching a tape or hearing a voice note to say that a person is doing something to you. You can find in other ways also, but I'm happy there's organizations out there that can really help people. And I'm happy that you got out. And I know it's not over and I know it's not going to be a easy journey at all, the least, you know what I'm saying? But
Yes.
I know that I know that you already a strong person and that you're gonna make it. You definitely are. And your kids are gonna be looking up to you and saying, that's my mom. And they're gonna be so proud of you for sure.
Nice. And I'm glad to help anybody. In my story, I want to inspire anybody. Just don't stay quiet. Once they put their hands on you, don't even listen to I'm sorry. Just leave.
Right,
That's all I'm saying. Just leave. Once they even think about yelling at you, that's the time you just gotta walk through the door.
right.
Anybody that's hearing this, you're beautiful. Know your worth. Love is not like that.
For sure.
Honestly, love yourself before anything. I'm working on that.
If you had to talk to a young lady out there right now and tell her what she should do for herself, what do you think you should do other than what you said already? What do you think she should do and go about some of her situations?
Honestly, if it was a younger person and before they even got into domestic violence ship and I just seen the person was just yelling at them, I would just pull in and say, girl, look at you. You're beautiful. Even not even a girl, just in general. Stop. You're beautiful.
Right,
What are you doing dealing with this? They don't need to be yelling at you. First of all, you need to love yourself. If they're yelling at you, leave them. Love yourself. And what makes you happy? Take yourself out on a date. First of
right,
all, I recommend everybody to take themselves out on a date.
right.
Get to know yourself. Because you will never know what makes you happy, what makes you sad, what makes your emotions. No one never know. Honestly, I'm working on that. I don't know what triggers any of my emotions. I know how to make other people happy. The question is, do anybody else know how to make themselves happy? And no, I don't need a lie. I want the honest truth. Look at
Right,
yourself in the mirror. Are y'all really happy?
right.
And you have to look inside. Love is, yeah, everybody want to be loved, but honestly, love is inside of you. And
It's
if
certainly
anybody
right.
can't accept that, then that's not the person for you.
That's truly that's definitely right. So, did you think it was hard to get help when you started getting? I know you don't have your full everything right now, but do you think it's hard getting services for people who are survivors, or do you think it's kind of relatively easy on how things are going for you?
Um, I don't know. I mean, in my situation, I could say I was pretty lucky because I was going through this situation when I was pregnant, and everybody seen what I was going through. So
Right,
I had outside help, even when I didn't know people was helping me on the outside.
right.
So I was kind of fortunately was lucky. So honestly, but if I didn't know, if I was by myself, I wouldn't know what to do. I'm gonna be honest. I would have probably been stuck.
Got it. What are some of the resources people gave you to
Um,
look for or things like that?
support, motivation, the little things that that will help somebody. Like, some people to guide you, to give you like that lift you need to motivate you, to help you guide if you're doing something wrong. That part. Yeah. Someone to help you on the right path. I don't know how to really explain it, but you just gotta have a good support team, I feel like. Or that one good friend.
I got it. I got it. So, if you don't know people in New York City, DV is like we have different sectors of shelters in New York City. We have family with children, family with adults, men, women. At this point, I'm going to count the Hercs as a different one, so probably six. And then we have single men and single women. Those are the kind of demographics they put people in shelter. And the DV shelter is very particular. They are very they're in their own world, and it makes sense because it's about safety. You just never know what's gonna happen. But I'm just gonna ask you, like, do you think you are getting all the services you need where you are right now, or do you think you should get more services? And what services do you think they should probably add in to make it better?
Well, let me see, the place I'm in right now, I'm getting help right now.
That's good.
But I feel like in generally if all shelters, like domestic violence shelters will would fix, I feel like they need to like sit there and understand people's situations, because I have been in a couple of shelters that they didn't really care for people's situations. They
Yeah.
wasn't even mindful. They didn't even really try to do their job.
Mhm.
And this is me coming from a lot of shelters I've been through in the past.
Okay. So I'm not this particular shelter, but the ones in the past shelters that you've been to, do you think that they cared about your feelings or they just wanted to get their work done? How do you think
They didn't care. They only cared for like a paycheck,
mm,
honestly. Like, out of a lot of the people I interact with, as in workers in general,
right,
cops, ACS workers, or just shelter people, is only, I could say, 25% of them that actually will actually care about their job. And some of them are just working for paychecks, and some of them are not really doing anything.
right,
So it's kind of hard of getting help because you don't know where the help is at if they're doing half jobs.
right.
And that's how I look at it. That's how I feel. And I feel like as in a community, we can all do better and work together.
That's for sure. So as you know in the podcast, like I made sure I asked her what problems because she's going through it right now, right? And we're gonna make sure that we're just not giving people the city or anybody who's listening just problems. We want to come with solutions. And I think that's across the board, whether you're in DV or not. It just seemed like honestly, I feel like the people are just overworked. They have too much caseload, and some people just don't want to be there. They're just there honestly for the money, and this is just their way to pay their bills. But a lot of people are just overworked in the system and they're underpaid. And that's the sad thing about it. They do a great job of making the city's homeless population run, and they should be paid for the job they do. But I also think that training needs to be, I feel like they have training, they're just not implementing the
Taking
training
it
properly.
serious.
That's the
They're
thing.
not taking the trading serious.
They're not.
And
Because
they're not hiring the right people, I feel like.
that's true too.
It's all
That's
about who you hire and how the people talk and how they can handle situations. Because if you're not a people person, because I met a lot of workers that are not people person, and they
right.
just there for a job and not trying to understand.
And that's a problem, especially in the situation you're in. You know what I'm saying? It's not like 'cause it's a regular shelter. You know, people in regular shelter need help, but people in DV situations, they need a certain kind of help, a certain kind of shoulder to cry on, and certain person to have empathy and to understand. Granted, they're not every situation you're gonna understand how that happened or why that happened, but if you can see if that was yourself or your daughter in it, would you want your daughter to feel this way? And what do your daughter would like to hear from you other than rushing through a bunch of paperwork. They want to hear it's going to be okay. I would assume, and really hearing it. What how can you help me get better? I'm not sure. Like again, if you have not listened to the podcast before, I have never been through a DV situation, but I've been through shelter. what do you think some things you would like a caseworker, for example, to do for you to make you feel comfortable actually to be in their presence and to be working with them?
Um, I feel like me as a person, I didn't finish school pretty much. So like certain like paperwork or when I have to do housing, I would like them to actually sit down with me, talk to me how to budget and how to like look for these housings and stuff like that. Things like that. Like certain things that people are like not really good on not knowing
Right.
certain things. I didn't mean to make that sound complicated, but
No, you
yeah.
didn't. And think about it, people who go to school like myself, them paperworks are so mumbo jumbled, and you still kind of like, what is that? They don't make things in layman terms. They make, I feel like, a lot of things for people who are like lawyers, and lawyers go through all these extra schooling and stuff like that. Regular regular people, they sometimes don't understand it. Some things, I think the Section 8 voucher application to me was easy compared to other vouchers that like other stuff you have to sign up for. So I'm happy for that. Whoever updated the Section 8 voucher for New York City for this time around, they did a good job. I can honestly say that. But I've been through other formats of assistance for New York, and they haven't been so easy. They seem very complicated. So I definitely think that is a thing we need to work on to make sure we have people with lived experience who are actually going through the process of this stuff before. Because sometimes I
Yes.
think people, yeah, I think people who are doing these things are people who never experienced it or never is not on the level of thinking of a person who might not really understand what's going on. And not everybody's at the same level as you said for yourself, education. So you just want, not saying you can't do nothing. I think it seemed like you're doing pretty good and you have your kids and stuff like that. But you just need an extra help to make sure that everything that you have is correct. All your I's are dotted and your T's are crossed. You know what I'm saying? So I
Yeah.
think that's a good idea to make sure people have the proper support on doing these paperwork. And that's important. If your paperwork is not in, that's going to affect your housing and your housing affects you and your family. You know what I'm saying? So I think that's a great solution that whoever is hearing this hopefully can bring back to your team and to make it better for the people of New York City. I I don't think it's a big ask. I think it's a small ask to ask for people to do for people. You know what I'm saying? So I think that could help a
Yeah.
lot of people in general.
Yes. Definitely.
Do you have anything else that you would like to say about your experience or people, just to any person out there who's going through the situation?
I think that's it.
That's it. Okay, guys. Thank you for coming back to hear our voices. I hope this is helpful to anybody who's listening. I hope this, if you see yourself in 10, that you can get out of it as soon as possible. And again, look at the resources down below. They're always supposed to be in every single podcast that we have coming out, and that it be able to help you and your family or you individually. I can't even say family because that's what the demographics we go for, but it could be anybody who is going through the situation and need to get out and need to help themselves and don't feel ashamed. Don't Please don't feel ashamed. Because everybody goes through something. If you went through nothing, you'd be just like a robot. Everybody goes through something at one part of their life. It's only a small part of your life, not a full part of your life, and it will be okay. And you'll get better. And in the future, you'll be looking back like, wow, I made it. So just love on yourself. Look yourself in the mirror and say, I am beautiful, I'm wonderful, and I don't deserve this, and you deserve better. Again, guys, thank you for coming to Hear Our Voices podcast. You guys are amazing. Thank you for coming out. Check into this podcast next week, and we'll see you next time. Bye.
Thank you for having me. Bye.